talk about the characters. In season 1, there was Kaylin. What did you think about Kaylin?
I like Kaylin a lot, and I think that's definitely a character that you could center the series around.
Our bisexual ditz.
Right.
But she seems vulnerable and appealing.
She's kind at the same time. She is introspective when she needs to be. She can be ditzy when she needs to be. She can play sort of the straight character and let other and give way to other characters.
Right, and also the clumsy bisexual character.
Right.
Because she's kind of more bi-curious, I'd say, than.
That aspect of it, the sexual aspect of it is has been done so many times now. There's so much there's so much homosexuality out there on TV. Probably more so than it's far more prevalent on TV than it is in real life. It's,
probably very true.
And I think you really can't shock people with it anymore, and you can't really intrigue people with it anymore. And if it's part of who she is, that's perfectly fine, but I don't think that's
not the core.
Exactly right, and I don't think that's one of the more interesting things.
Right, it's more her Annie Hallish features.
Right, exactly right.
How about Dad?
I like Dad. We were talking about him earlier, and he's the one that has the license to be able to be the most politically incorrect, just because he's the guy who's been there, the guy who's been roughed up by the world. You can tell he's had sort of, he's had his failures, and he's one of those guys that's had the hard life, and he's been out there, and he's been given the license to be able to say what he wants.
Yeah, there's a wacky aspect to him that he wants to constantly start this porno online site, which never gets off the ground. He just talks about it, and he tries to recruit Kaylin and is constantly rebuffed.
I think that's a very cute idea, and it could be a very good sort of a running joke.
Yeah, which actually is a running joke. And then there's Hal, the first boss.
Oh, I like him. What I like about him is he has sort of an existential feel to him. He operates on sort of a different level.
And of course there's Summer, who is the bratty daughter of Mom.
Right.
So let's talk about Mom first. The first Mom, the hippie, burnout, the blonde with buxom looks.
The very first impression that I got from her from watching the very first episode, this is very classic histrionic personality disorder is what we would call it in psychology and psychiatry. It's very provocative. Wants to be out there. These are the type of the Paris Hilton types. Obviously, she's beyond the age of being being sexualized in a Paris Hilton sort of way, but she doesn't realize that her window of being that provocative is closed.
She's in a time warp.
Exactly right,
which makes her funny.
And that's incredibly funny. It's when the audience knows something that the character is completely oblivious to. There's a lot of humor in that, and I think you can go a lot of places with that character.
And then there's Summer, her daughter, who's always rejecting Kaylin's overtures and Brian's overtures. Brian is, of course, the chubby geek.
Right.
So what do you think of Summer? Is she too nasty, too mean?
I think you have a lot of opportunity to explore the mother-daughter relationship there.
Right.
How much of that comes from what she's learned from her mother, who would probably tell her, you can have any man you want.
Right.
You can hold out. You can tease them.
Right.
You can and the more you keep rejecting them, the more they'll want you.
And there's also that rimming episode. Do you remember that?
The rimming episode.
Where basically, Summer's mom asks her, "What have you been doing?" And she says, "I've been rimming, Dumbledore." And then the mother says, "What's rimming?" Kind of like a. So, and then how about Brian, the chubby geek, the guy who plays World of Warcraft?
That's I've always loved characters like that. I think that's the lovable loser sort of a character.
Yeah. Right.
And everybody has one in their family. I think that's something that everybody can relate to.
Do you think he's like an Adam Sandler character?
I see him as an Adam Sandler character, maybe like he could do like a Kevin James type of King of Queens type of a character.
Okay.
I think it would be very funny if he were to get like a hot girlfriend that he would have no idea what to do with.
Right, right. Because the hunt is always so ongoing. He never really thinks about what would happen if he caught the prey.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
He would have no idea. His head would explode.
Right.
He would have no idea what to do with someone like that.
And what do you think of our first hostess, Liz, from Iowa?
I liked her a lot. And yeah, there was a very wholesome quality to her that was appealing, and I think she would be. She doesn't have as much personality as far as being able to say things, because if she's going to be the host throughout, then you can't give her over the top sort of lines.
Right. But she seems to be a very grounding influence before the craziness begins with each episode.
Exactly right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a nice balance.
Right. And you want somebody like that to sort of represent the conscience of the show.
So season 2, let's go to season 2. We had some changes in the character lineup.
Right.
Kaylin's still there.
Right.
Dad's still there. Brian's still there.
The host
We have a new hostess, yes, Courtney.
Right. This is, I think, this is different in that Courtney is a little more sexual
Absolutely.
than the first host was.
Yes.
And you have a little more leeway as far as what you can say with her. You've made her a little more. You've given her a little more personality than you gave the first host.
Yeah, and she also basically has a gold digger kind of psychology, yeah, which we never see with Liz. We have new characters. Let's start with Zeno, who replaced Hal.
Right.
In a mysterious way. We're not really sure whether he's even human, okay?
Right.
The fact that he could be an alien, and we were never sure whether Al was connected to aliens, Hal, the first boss. How do you think that changes the dimension of the show in season 2?
Obviously, you give him the ability to say a lot more quirky things. You allow him to be far more ambiguous. There's a mystery there.
Right.
And all of that allows you to have a lot of versatility as far as plot lines go, things he can say.
Yeah. Okay, so it gives the show more room to play with.
It gives you a tremendous amount of range when you have characters who are ambiguous and could be one thing in one episode and be something else in another.
He also has these weird moments of constant bursts of anger, which we don't know where that's coming from, unlike Hal, who is a bit more even. But I think the Xeno dimension spills over into the musical quite well. Because the musical is a sci-fi hybrid, The Earth Stood Still, 2001, mixed in with the real world and American Idol.
Right.
So that, I guess, gave it its strange psychology.
No, I see all of those elements in there.
Yeah.
And yes, he could play a much more important role in a musical. Right.
And now we have, of course, a new mom, London's mom, who is a corporate shark.
Right.
How does she contrast with mom number 1, Summer's mom?
She is a little more what I would call asexual.
Okay. More power driven.
Right. Exactly right. In a sort of a Hillary Clinton sort of a way.
Okay.
Where if you turn off the sexual component of your life, it gives you heightened ability in other aspects of your life, making money, doing well as far as your career goes.
Sublimation.
Exactly right.
Okay.
And it allows her to invest in other things that she finds more important.
How do you think Dad would handle this mom compared to mom number 1?
I don't think he's a good fit for either of these women.
Which makes it kind of funny when he tries to.
I think Dad, as much of a curmudgeon as he is, I think he still needs somebody to take care of him.
Okay.
He needs more of a mother figure as a wife.
Yeah.
And I don't think that either of these women are compatible with him as sort of what he needs.
One is a burnout and one is a shark.
Right.
So you're not going to find much sympathy for Dad with either.
No, and you always saw in other TV shows where you had a character like this, that character, you know, Fred Mertz's wife was a very motherly woman, you know, and you know, the father on Everybody Loves Raymond, his wife was always very motherly.
Yeah.
This dad doesn't have that.
Right. And we have London, who is the daughter of the new mom.
Right.
What do you think of her, and how does she contrast with Summer?
Can you remind
London
me?
is the runaway brunette with the blue eyes, and she's bisexual, and she had an affair with Aaron, who got killed in a car accident, who comes back and haunts the Daily Minute as a ghost.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And she's a prodigy like Summer, but very different.
And
she, like Summer, also leads on Kaylin and Brian.
Right. I don't think the sexuality angle of it is tremendously important.
Right.
The other things that you mentioned are more of what I would consider more important.
I wouldn't see London even attempting to do yoga or talk about meditation like Summer, even though we don't think Summer was very deep into either.
No.
Summer is basically kind of geek-oriented and has a new age dimension, while London is a runaway. She actually was out on this road running away from her mom.
When you think about it, even their names tell a lot about them.
Really? How so?
Summer, you know, has a tremendous amount of imagery.
Okay.
And you have a name like that, you sort of have to live up to it, and it gives you, and it harkens to yoga. And more free age type,
very hippie,
free thinking.
That's why her mom gave her the name, probably. And London, what, fog?
London, more of a big city, a New York feel to it, straight edged, no nonsense. You know, play by not so much, not necessarily play by the rules.
Yeah, even though both would be considered bitches, don't you think? They're very nasty to Brian and Kaylin.
I think so.
Yeah. And then we have some new characters. First of all, Erin the ghost, who was Summer's lover but was killed in a car accident. She was actually decapitated. Even
in death, she has a sort of neuroses about her that I think the viewer would find extremely charming.
Okay. Yeah, and she has a kind of erotic, you know, dimension. Erin, you know, she dresses.
And the fact that she's dead.
Yeah.
Gives her a lot of leeway to be able to say whatever she wants, do whatever she wants, without consequence. She's dead. What else can happen to her?
Right. Unless there's other karma involved that we don't know about. And then we have the Gen Z kids, Drew and Luke. They are the new generation members. They came only in season 2.
Right.
What do they contribute to the Daily Minute? Because we see them in the musical. They graduate and go on to the musical. Right.
I think the boy is more of the clown. He's the hyper one. He's probably the one that, you know, if you had him as a kid, you'd want to say, hey, take it down a notch, or I'm going to give you a timeout.
Could you have ADD possibly?
It's entirely possible. You see him in one episode dancing on a table. And then you have the girl who is very sort of anal retentive, has sarcastic sort of a sense of humor.
Right.
Sort of she could potentially be sort of a Debbie Downer type of a character.
She seems to kind of be sort of like Summer in the sense that she is a straight to, you know, to Luke like Summer is straight to Brian, but she's also kind of doesn't like teen queens but loves Lady Gaga. And there's a paradox there where she kind of doesn't like selling out, but on the other hand, she's very much part of the cultural zeitgeist.
Right.
You know.
And I think there is the fact that she doesn't have a pattern is conforms to what this show is all about, the irregularly irregular sort of feel.
Right. And even her as a 10-year-old, there is an erotic dimension to her as well, the way she dresses, you know. So there's always that kind of sexual edge in all the
Right.
female characters anyway.
And you know, neuroses is a very neurotic people are very interesting. Neuroses is sort of in the middle between mania and being normal. It's sort of the halfway point.
Right.
And she has the potential to go either way.
Right, right.